Welcome to Evangelism for God, the channel that speaks about issues the church run away from and exposes Satan and his devices. My name is Maurice Braxton. And before I got saved, I was following the 700 Club. Now, I know Pat Robertson he can be way out there, but prior to coming to the Lord, all of the tests, I was obsessed with coming in when I was running the streets and hanging out. I was obsessed with watching the testimonies, and it played a role in leading me to the Lord. Long story short, let's fast forward. Once I given my life to the Lord and things, and many years as of 2011, it was a point where they were looking for people to share their testimonies and stories, and I thought it would be a good idea to possibly be able to see if my testimony can reach the program. So someone did contact me. We had this long discussion and interview process. And then it came down to the point of the gentleman stating, I was in between transitions of life at this point and trying to find a church home and things of that nature. And it came down to when the guy asked, well, who's your pastor? I said, I'm in between churches and trying to key in on a certain church. Well, you need to have a pastor. You need to be in church. He starts yelling at me and going off on me. And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. I'm not no kid. You're not going to talk to me like a dog like this. But, and then he was like, well, I need to discuss it over with the board and let you know my decision. And then shortly, a day or two later, I get an email from them stating that they didn't want my story. Now, why am I telling that? It's because there's an article that just came out a few days ago talking about, and here we go. I've got the notes, guys. I got the notes. I wrote it down. About Americans are leaving more Americans are leaving Christianity or having nothing, wanting anything to do with religion. And it's a problem for the GOP and the problem for the evangelicals. Now, this is not a political message, so let me make that clear, but there's a point that I'm going to make out of this, because the GOP and the evangelicals together have done a poor job in reaching out. Now, this article talks about the MAGA group, the Make America Trump supporters, and how all of these people are firm, because Trump got 81% of the evangelical vote. But the article was talking about, but millennials and Generation X and more of them are falling away. And America's becoming more diverse. And so, which means that there's a problem for the future of the GOP and the church. Because people are falling away, and it's to the point you can't rely on. The GOP ain't going to be able to just rely on old reliables, these old faithfuls that's been there through thick and thin, because America's become more diverse now and people are falling off. So it made me think of how this article was talking about for the GOP being in trouble, but the church is in trouble, because it made me think of what has the church, evangelicals, and the GOP done to reach out. What have they really done to reach out to those that have different opinions of them and those that they don't agree with, those that they don't like? They've done more jobs of demonizing them. GOP they've come up with this pretext of the false election. The election was stolen. The president is not really who he should be. Is not the real president. And then you have all of this craziness going on, and where they're hindering votes for people, or just coming up with rules, because that's their way of reaching out, I guess. And what is the church doing? Because it made me think of where the things are opening back up, and eventually things will be back to some type of more norm. And I was thinking, what is the church going to do differently? What is the church going to do differently? Because I don't see any plan if it's going to go right back to the same old thing. And this is what it's talking about. So I was just thinking about how the church and how the GOP is in free fall together. And we keep talking about this great nation, this great revival that you always hear a lot of people talking about. The great times are getting ready to come. Well, as I say, I don't want to come across as a Debbie Downer, or if there's a version of that for the guys, but just being a downer and bearer of bad news and all of these things. But the church is going to have to figure out, and first off needs to repent and figure out what they're going to do in trying to reach out to those people. Because it made me think also, I was thinking of the church, and they're treating people just like the woman at the well, the woman caught in adultery. The GOP's doing the same. That's pushing people away. Instead of having that compassion that the Lord talked about, how when Jesus interacted with the woman at the well and how he sat there and forgave that woman that was caught in adultery, that was about to be stoned to death, and how that compassion is not translated over within the Christian community, the evangelical community in most cases. More people have been ran out of the church. I've seen more people say over the last few years, I'm so glad I've left the church. I feel so much better that I got out of there. This is the attitudes of people. And this is what's going on. So there's an attitude check that needs to be done. It's big trouble. Things are happening, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. So all we need to do, us believers, we know, anybody that's been within the Christian realm for a while, you see what's going on. You see the free fall. You see how things have changed within society in such a way that, of course, people are going to make fun of Christianity. Of course, people's going to make fun. They talk about the attack on religion in America, the attack on the Christian. There's going to be an attack not only because of Satan, the evil one, but at the same time, a lot of it is self-inflicted. The church has self-inflicted its own wounds that people want nothing to do with the church. And as far as the GOP, those that's been over liables, people that the Reagan Democrats and those that, the supporters of Reagan and the old conservative values and things, many have fallen away from that because it has become so extreme. So it's trouble on two fronts, and that's where we are. So continue to stand firm, continue to pray, but don't get caught up into thinking that we're walking down a yellow brick road that's rosy at the moment. You're going to have to fight the spiritual battle and the warfare, and you're going to have to take up your cross and follow the Lord. And as the church has to do a better job at evangelizing, and individually, we've got to do a better job at being witnesses for the Lord, because we can't count on no one else. You can't count on some party to do it, the GOP or the Democrat or any party. You can't rely on none of it. Be an example. Give God the glory, because that's what we do on this channel. If you're new, hit subscribe, hit like, because we're continuing to give God the glory. And as most of all, we're going to expose Satan so that we can be able to learn to walk in victory. My name is Maurice Braxton. Until the next video, take care. God bless.